Hello! You can tell this is going to be a casual video because I am in my streets and in my office, but this is what YouTubers call a trailer for a new series. The new series is still going to be about swordsmanship, sort of, but it's going to be more specifically about swordsmanship in writing. Now, it could also be generalized, so it's not just, writing. It could be other forms of media, like cinema, videos, maybe music. I've not really heard that many sword-related music things. But yeah, so we're going to talk about how you can use swordsmanship, those ideas for like characters, concepts, and all that fun stuff, and anything that you're working on. Things that you can expect from these videos, right? So it's going to be very similar to what I do with my other sword videos, and in case you're wondering who I am, I'm going to have something at the end kind of talking about my background, all that kind of fun stuff, in case this is the first time you're seeing me. Yeah, so if you ever watch any of my videos, you know that I like to attack concepts from many different angles, and writing is not going to be any different. For example, what we might do is take a concept, so I guess as a kind of vague example, let's talk about like an archetype or something. Let's just say like maybe the archetype, character of the reluctant hero or something like that. We can talk about that concept potentially with regard to swordsmanship and stuff like that, in case you do have a reluctant swordsman and all that fun stuff. But we can talk about that concept from many different angles, including why you might want to write a reluctant hero, why readers might like to read about them, what reluctant heroes do for the setting, for the narrative, and all that fun stuff. So we'll take that one concept like in its core, right? So if you don't like alter it that much, kind of see like what makes it work and maybe what it doesn't. And if you are a returning viewer, you also know that although I like to tear things down, because I guess that's sort of what teaching is all about, I also like to build things up, right? So yes, we're going to talk about a concept, maybe the pros and cons of it, but always I'm going to try to be like, all right, so there's this concept, let's add on to it or change it up a little bit to make it even more, satisfying or interesting for you to work with in your media. Like, so for example, if we do have that, reluctant hero, obviously we can get very specific, but because this is a trailer as opposed to like going into anything super deep, we can just talk about like maybe mushing two archetypes together, right? Kind of see how that would make a new character, show how you can add new conflicts, right? So maybe external conflicts, which is usually what's associated with our reluctant hero. Maybe some internal conflicts, right? So he doesn't want to do things, but there's something internally in himself that might be a contradiction to him staying behind, him or her staying behind. So we're going to talk about like ways you can improve those things. And just like with my sword videos, I like to have drills at the end. I don't want to call it like homework because we all know that that's not a very exciting word. So I'll have some drills at the end to kind of either spark your your creative process, or just if you're bored and you just watch the video and you're like, you know what? There's that book or that video or that music, which I still haven't heard yet, that I still want to work on. Maybe I might use these ideas and push things in a different direction. So there's always going to be a drill at the end as well. I'm really excited about starting these videos because if you ask any of my non-sword friends, acquaintances, or random strangers I happen to ask about writing, writing is a major passion of mine. I write every day and all that fun stuff. I like to digest like the craft and like kind of do analyses and stuff like that. So this is a nice way for me to combine all the things I like to talk about, right? Because I like to talk. Because my videos, as you can tell, because my videos are so long, but also I like to obviously talk about writing, and I like to talk about swordsmanship, and now I can do all those things in one new series. Other things you can expect from these videos, right? So there's going to be like the analysis kind of stuff that I might do, right? So of a concept, like an archetype or something like that. There's also going to be maybe some general tips that I kind of figured out along the way, or things I've picked up from other sources. And just like with my sword videos, I like transparency, right? I want to make sure that if I get something from someone else, I want to make sure they get the credit for doing that, because that's how we grow, right? So we are always working on the shoulders of giants, even if they're small giants sometimes. But we're always like building up on previous ideas. So I want to make sure that I'm doing my fair share and telling you whose shoulders I'm standing on. Now, if you're still watching and you're still wondering who is this guy, why is he, talking at me with such fervor? So I guess two things, right? So if you're coming at this from my sword videos, right? So if you usually watch my sword stuff, and you might be like, wait, why is he doing stuff on writing? That seems really weird. So here's a brief thing about me and writing. Not unique to many other writers. I've been writing since I was very young. My first thing I ever kind of wrote and developed was something not creatively called Elemental Stones of the Elemental Dragon, as my one person that continuously read and listened to my ideas will remember, or doesn't remember. That was a very long time ago. Yeah, so my ideas have obviously gotten better since I was 10. So I got a little bit more serious with actually like making it more into a craft when I went into college. So I did my first NaNoWriMo, again, my freshman year of college. And I pretty much was writing the entire time through then, right? So finding those spare moments in that one library that I like. There's like that one library, right? So it's never just libraries in general. There was this nice one library that there's a downstairs and it was open out to a bunch of trees. It was wonderful. But anyway, so that's where I did a lot of my writing. At my very last semester on my way out of college, after doing, I think it was like 6.5 years for my degree, which is not in writing, by the way, it is in engineering as well as philosophy, right? So that might explain a lot of things, right? So if I talk about like, if you watch my sword videos, like I talk about like translations and stuff like that, which is a lot more engineering-y, but also maybe the moral ethics of things, which is going to be more important for our writing stuff, right? Yeah, so my very last semester, I decided to retake my creative writing class because I'm not to say that the first time I took it was it was good, but I wanted to make sure I had one last thing before I left into the big wide world. So I took one class, and that was really what kind of changed things for me. That class was taught by the awesome Alex Dawson from Rutgers, and he put me on a better trajectory of where I was going. So before that class, I did a lot of just writing, like copious amounts of writing, right? So I had like 5 novels that were all like too long, right? So like 150,000 words for just a single idea that I was working on. My professor was like, yo, get an agent, right? Like you need that agent to go further. And it's like, oh, will do. So since then, I've been doing things a lot more, at least more professionally, right? So I've been seeking agents, I've been doing writing and developing my craft and all that fun stuff. Now, if you're coming to this video from not the sword background, right? So you saw this in your news feed or something like that, it's like, oh, writing and swordsmanship, maybe this will be useful. So if you're not familiar with my sword stuff so far, here is a really brief breakdown. The long and short of it is, I'm a 4th degree black belt in Haidong Gumdo, which is a sword, Korean sword martial art. I've also trained in a few other martial arts that are specifically sword related. So there's Kendo, there's Iaido, there's Chinese broadsword, which is really brief, but I'm still going to count it because I still enjoy it. As well as a little bit of XMA style, right? So if you see those throws and stuff like that, which you should not do, if you're actually fighting, but it's really flashy and interesting, and it was a new thing to develop, as well as HEMA. Now, I'm also not someone who just likes to throw around rank, because rank sometimes means absolutely nothing. So from a teaching perspective, so first of all, I've been doing swordsmanship since 06, or Gumdo specifically since 06. I've been teaching since 08 because my instructor, first of all, needed help teaching, and he apparently trusted me, so that was pretty awesome. So I've been teaching since 08. I've been teaching solo, I believe, since 12. I think it was 12. And then since then, I've been running the sword program. Again, if you see my other videos, you can see our logo in the back. You can see the logo change a little bit as well. But yes, I've been teaching for a very long time. I'm also the one of the technical directors for the East Coast Haidong Gumdo Association, which means I go around the East Coast and again help instruct other masters to make sure they are up to date as well. So I've been teaching this for a very long time, and I still enjoy it. So I believe I'm at least somewhat qualified to talk to you about specifics in swordsmanship. now that you learned oh so much about me, we can start to close out, right? So now you know the general format that I like to work with, right? So it's usually going to be an introduction. We're going to have a concept. We're going to attack that concept from many different angles. We're going to talk about how we can improve that concept. We're going to have some drills at the end, and that kind of thing, right? Because this is still a video and I still like to have drills, so let's do a little bit of a short one, right? So one of them is kind of like it's not really a drill, right? But it's something that might be helpful. You can think about, so first of all, why do you want to write a swordsman, right? So you can make a list of like maybe 5 reasons, right? Obviously one of them could be as simple as swords are cool because they are, right? Because swords are cool. You can also think about other reasons, right? So like why you're writing a swordsman as opposed to a marksman, why you're writing a swordsman as opposed to a farmer, why you're writing a swordsman as opposed to, you know, gymnast or something like that. So what specifically is drawing you to writing or making media about swordsman or swordsmanship in general? So with that, make a list of 5 things. Again, this is kind of like the proto drill, right? Because this is kind of a little more self-serving for you. But you can also think about, so another drill, so we're gonna have a few drills this time. It's exciting. So another drill you can do is maybe make a list of, again, things that you would like to see from this channel, right? So for example, I'm going to be talking about a few of the archetypes that are really prominent. Again, we might talk about the reluctant hero, writing characters like, you know, a paladin slash knight in shining armor and stuff like that, as well as concepts that are really, really, really popular in specifically fantasy. It could be books. There's actually more books than other media, but like books such as like how everyone just wants to decapitate their foes. And whether or not like swords can actually do that, they can. But like whether it's practical and all that fun stuff. So if there's like specific ideas that you'd like to to discuss, you can leave a comment with a couple things that you'd like to see. But now time for the real drill that I would like you to try. Assuming that you're writing something about a character as opposed to like a general thesis or something like that, what we'd like you to do is take a character and kind of smush 2 different archetypes together. So this is something that I mentioned before. So for example, what would happen if you kind of smush the sidekick character with the teacher, right? So the teaching role, right? So like it's a sidekick where the protagonist doesn't really see them as equal, although they are filled with like endless wisdom. So that might be interesting. You can maybe combine like the reluctant hero with like a Superman, right? So Superman doesn't literally mean Superman with a giant S. Like, so for example, James Bond is a type of Superman because he's very, very capable of what he does. But then if you're a reluctant hero, you don't wanna, right? So that might be kind of interesting for you to play with. So yeah, so there are tons of lists online if you like Google archetypes or character types. Try smushing 2 of them together. The less they have in common, the better, because that's going to be really interesting. And then see where your mind takes you with that. Because my usual closing does not really match this kind of video, right? Because that's usually stay humble and keep training, and then I say Haidong. This is not a Haidong video, and it's also not going to be necessarily training, although you can think about training. So instead, I'm going to do something similar because change, right? Take it gradually. So what I'm going to do is, stay humble and keep writing. Stay safe.